The night was cold, the kind of cold that crawled under your skin and stayed there. Rain poured down in sharp sheets as Adam drove home from his late shift at the lumberyard. His old pickup truck creaked and rattled with every bump on the country road, headlights slicing through the dark. Just as he turned the corner near the bridge, a flash of silver caught his eye, a luxury car skidding out of control. Before he could think, it slammed into a tree with a deafening crunch. Adam slammed the brakes, jumped out, and ran into the rain. Through the shattered window, he saw a woman slumped over the steering wheel, blood trickling from her forehead. Her lips trembled as she tried to move. "Please, I can't walk," she whispered, her voice weak and terrified. Adam didn't hesitate. He pulled open the jammed door, lifted her into his arms, and carried her through the storm toward his truck. Just minutes later, the car's engine burst into flames behind them, illuminating the rain like falling sparks. The nearest hospital was hours away and the storm had flooded the roads. So Adam drove her to his small wooden cabin at the edge of town. He laid her gently on the couch, covered her with a blanket, and tended to her wounds as best he could. When she finally opened her eyes, confusion clouded her expression. The cabin was warm, the air filled with the scent of wood smoke and fresh bread. But she wasn't used to this kind of simplicity. "Where am I?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "My home," Adam said softly, wringing rainwater from his jacket. "You were in an accident. You couldn't walk, so I brought you here. The storm's too heavy to drive to the hospital." She tried to sit up, grimacing in pain as her leg throbbed. "You can't just bring me to a stranger's house," she snapped. "Do you know who I am?" Adam met her gaze calmly. "No, ma'am, and right now, I don't think that matters. You're hurt. That's all I need to know." For the first time in years, no one cared about her power, her money, or her name. Elena White, CEO of White Industries, one of the most influential women in the country, sat speechless. She was used to being obeyed, feared, or flattered, but never ignored. Yet something in Adam's steady tone made her stop arguing. She turned her head toward the fire, letting the warmth chase away her shivers. When morning came, the storm still roared outside. Adam's 8-year-old daughter, Lily, peeked around the corner, holding a plate of cookies. "Hi," she said shyly. "Daddy said you're hurt. I made you breakfast." Elena blinked in surprise. She wasn't used to kindness without reason. "Thank you, sweetheart," she murmured, accepting the plate. The cookies were misshapen, uneven, but warm and soft, the kind of thing money couldn't buy. Over the next 2 days, the rain trapped them together. Elena tried calling for help, but the phone lines were dead. Every time she demanded to leave, her injured leg reminded her she wasn't ready. Adam cooked simple meals, worked quietly on repairing wooden toys at his desk, and kept the fire burning. Lily sang while she painted by the window, her laughter filling the cabin. Elena found herself watching them, something in her chest softening. One evening, she caught Adam repairing a tiny wooden horse. The way his hands moved, patient, steady, careful, reminded her of everything missing from her fast, ruthless world. "You make toys?" she asked, her voice gentler now. "For Lily," he replied without looking up. "And sometimes for the other kids in town. Makes them smile." Elena stared at him for a long moment. "You don't know who I am," she said finally, testing him. Adam smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why I can treat you like a person." The words hit harder than she expected. She turned away, pretending to check her phone, though she knew there was no signal. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like the CEO of an empire. She felt like a woman, tired, lost, and strangely safe. As night fell and thunder echoed in the distance, Adam placed another log in the fire. The orange glow reflected in Elena's eyes as she whispered softly, almost to herself, "Thank you, for not leaving me there." Adam looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Anyone would have done the same," he said quietly. But deep down, they both knew that wasn't true. That night, as rain whispered against the windows, Elena fell asleep for the first time without fear of tomorrow. And Adam, sitting by the fire, couldn't help but wonder who this broken stranger really was, and why she felt like the beginning of something he didn't understand yet. The storm finally cleared after 3 endless days. Sunlight poured through the cabin windows, casting soft golden patterns on the wooden floor. Elena could move her injured leg a little now, though every step still sent pain shooting up her side. She sat by the window, watching Adam help Lily with her schoolwork, his patience unshakable even as she grew restless. Something about their bond stirred something deep inside her, a longing she didn't know she still had. Later that afternoon, as Adam chopped wood outside, Elena limped toward the small table by the fire where a collection of toys lay scattered, hand-carved horses, dolls, little wooden trains. She ran her fingers over the smooth edges, realizing how much care had gone into each one. There was no business strategy, no profit, no marketing plan, just love. It felt strange, foreign, and beautiful. When Adam walked back in, she asked quietly, "Why do you do all this?" He glanced at the toys, wiping sweat from his brow. "Lily loves them. After her mom passed, I started making things to keep her smiling. Guess it became a habit." Elena hesitated. "I'm sorry. About your wife." He nodded, his eyes distant. "She fought cancer for 2 years. I thought I'd lose my mind watching her fade away. But Lily kept me standing. I had to learn to be a father and mother at once." Elena's chest tightened. She had lost people too. Her parents, her trust, her peace. But she'd buried all that under money and control. "You must hate being alone," she whispered. Adam smiled faintly. "I'm never alone. I have Lily, and the quiet helps me remember who I am." That night, the power went out again. Adam lit candles, their warm glow flickering across the walls. Elena sat across from him, watching the light dance in his eyes. "You're different," she said softly. "Everyone I know wants something from me. You don't." He looked at her for a long moment, then replied, "Maybe because I already have what I need." Silence filled the space between them, not awkward, but heavy with something unspoken. When Lily finally fell asleep, they sat together listening to the rain tapping against the roof. For the first time in years, Elena felt safe. Not powerful, not respected, just seen. She wondered if maybe she'd been chasing the wrong kind of life all along. By morning, the roads had cleared, and Adam's neighbor arrived to say that the phone lines were working again. Elena called her assistant, who nearly cried hearing her voice. Within hours, her driver was on his way. Adam packed her things quietly while Lily tried to hide her sadness. "You'll visit us, right?" the little girl asked. Elena smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Of course I will." But deep down, she wasn't sure. When her black car pulled up, the real world came crashing back. Elena stood at the door, unsure what to say. "I'll send someone to repay you," she murmured. Adam shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." "Yes, I do," she insisted. "You saved my life." He met her gaze, calm and steady. "Then live it better." She didn't know how to respond. So she just nodded, turned away, and stepped into the car. As the cabin faded from view, she stared out the window, her reflection looking older and lonelier than ever. Back in the city, her office felt colder than usual. The people around her spoke in numbers and contracts, not feelings. But that night, as she sat in her glass-walled penthouse, she turned on the TV and froze. The local news was covering a fire in a small town, a workshop burned to the ground. The name on the banner made her heart drop. Local craftsman Adam Parker loses his business in fire. She gripped the remote, her pulse racing. The reporter mentioned faulty wiring, total loss, and that the man had been supporting a young daughter alone. Elena didn't think twice. She grabbed her keys and rushed to her car. Hours later, she arrived at the same cabin where her story had begun. Smoke still lingered in the air, and Adam stood amid the wreckage, sifting through ashes. His shirt was torn, his hands blackened with soot. "Adam," she called softly. He turned, startled to see her there, standing in heels on muddy ground. "You shouldn't have come," he said, trying to hide his exhaustion. "I saw the news," she replied, stepping closer. "You helped me when I had nothing. Now let me do the same." He shook his head stubbornly. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," she said firmly. "It's gratitude." They stood in silence for a moment, the wind whispering through the burned remains of his workshop. Finally, she looked him in the eyes and said, "You once told me to live better. Let me start by helping you rebuild." And for the first time since the fire, Adam didn't argue. The morning after the fire was gray and heavy. Ashes still floated in the air like tiny ghosts of everything Adam had lost. The smell of smoke clung to the trees, to his clothes, to every breath he took. He stood there silently, staring at the ruins of his workshop, his hands clenched. That place had been his life, his late nights, his dreams, the small legacy he wanted to leave for Lily. And now it was gone. When he heard the sound of tires on gravel, he turned to see a sleek black car pull up. Elena stepped out, dressed in simple clothes this time, no heels, no diamonds, no makeup. Just her. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly, not looking at her. She walked closer, her voice calm but firm. "I told you last night. I want to help." Adam's jaw tightened. "I don't need pity." "It's not pity," she said. "It's repayment. You gave me my life back. Now let me give you yours." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she pulled out her phone, made a few calls, and within days, trucks began arriving. Builders, designers, and workers, all under her company's funding. Adam tried to resist, but the truth was, he had no way to rebuild alone. Slowly, he let her in. Together, they designed a new workshop, larger, brighter, and filled with color. But she added one condition: it wouldn't just be his shop. It would be a small community center, where local kids could come learn to craft, paint, and create. He didn't understand why she cared so much. But every time he saw her working alongside the construction crew, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, laughing with Lily, something inside him shifted. The powerful CEO was gone. In her place stood a woman rediscovering joy. Days turned into weeks. When the workshop reopened, they named it Second Chance. The mayor came to cut the ribbon, the children clapped, and Adam looked at Elena with a quiet smile. For the first time, he wasn't just grateful, he was proud. But peace never lasts long when the world is watching. Soon, tabloids began printing stories. CEO Elena White's secret life, the man who stole her heart. Photos of her and Adam, of her working in the small town, of her hugging Lily, all splashed across headlines. The board at her company was furious. Investors panicked, stock prices wavered. One evening, Elena got a call that shattered the calm she had found. "If you don't distance yourself from him," her partner said coldly, "you'll lose everything." That night, she drove to Adam's cabin in silence. He opened the door, concern written on his face. "You're pale. What happened?" She hesitated, her voice breaking. "They want me to leave. To go back and fix the mess. If I don't, I'll lose my company." Adam's eyes softened with sadness. "Then go," he said quietly. "You've built something beautiful here, but the world you belong to is bigger than this." She shook her head, tears glistening. "That world feels empty now." He took her hands gently. "Elena, you don't need to stay here for me. I'll be fine. Lily will be fine. You gave us enough." She pulled away, her heart aching. "You don't understand," she whispered. "You're the only thing that ever felt real." But Adam didn't answer. He only looked at her the way he had that first night, steady, kind, and full of a quiet strength she'd never known before. She turned and left, her reflection in the car window blurred by tears. Weeks passed. The workshop thrived, but Adam moved through it like a man missing a piece of his soul. Lily asked about Elena every day, drawing her pictures and leaving them by the door. Then one sunny morning, as Adam fixed a toy train, he heard footsteps behind him. When he turned, he froze. Elena stood there, smiling through tears, wearing jeans and a plain white shirt. "You're supposed to be in the city," he said softly. "I was," she replied, walking closer. "But I realized something. I've spent years running companies, building empires, collecting power, but I never built a life." He looked at her in disbelief. "What about your company?" "I stepped down," she said simply. "I don't need a title to feel alive anymore." Before he could respond, Lily ran in, squealing with joy, throwing her arms around Elena's waist. "You came back," she cried. Elena laughed, hugging her tightly. "I promised I would, didn't I?" Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Adam and Elena stood outside the workshop, the golden light wrapping around them. "You taught me how to stand again," she whispered. "Not just on my feet, but in my heart." He smiled, taking her hand gently. And you taught me it's never too late to start over. In the final moment, Elena walked barefoot across the grass, no longer limping, her laughter echoing through the open fields. Behind her, the sign above the door gleamed in the evening sun, "Second Chance." The woman who once couldn't walk now ran freely, her hand in his, her heart finally home. And somewhere deep in the silence that followed, the universe seemed to whisper back, "Some stories don't end in power, they end in peace."